Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'm going to be going over my complete Blu-ray and 4K Arrow collection. So there's quite a fair bit to get through. There's well over 100 titles that I've accumulated. In this video you'll probably notice above my head there is a big massive gap. That's where my Arrow collection sits, but I've taken it all down. I'm going to go through every title in this video. Like I said, quite a fair few to get through. There's standard Blu-ray releases, special editions, box sets, 4K box sets, and yeah, just a lot of titles to get through. So that being said, going to kick it off with the standard releases. So the first one we've got is Hell Comes to Frogtown. I picked this movie up because I was a big fan of They Live. Really enjoyed that movie with Roddy Piper, and he was in this as well. So I decided to pick this up and give it a watch, and yeah, it's a bizarre little movie. So yeah, that's the first one, Hell Comes to Frogtown. Next up, we've got kind of a more recent horror film, Two Witches. I thought this movie was okay. Thought it was fine. Didn't blow me away or do anything special in my opinion, but yeah. Same can be said for this next one, Stormy Monday. Sean Bean, Tommy Lee Jones, Melanie Griffith. Yeah, I just thought this movie was alright. So yeah, that's Stormy Monday. Next up, we've got, I believe this is a video nasty. I don't think it's a section 1. But yeah, sci-fi horror film, Contamination. I love the cover in this one, but I can't say the same for the film. Just thought it was alright. But yeah, that's Contamination. Next up, we've got George A. Romero movie, Knightriders. I wasn't a big fan of this one, I must admit. I'm probably going to sound a bit negative towards these first bunch because these are ones that aren't really my favourite, but Knightriders, I just thought it was alright. I just had no desire to go back to it, unfortunately. Just didn't live up to the standards of Dawn of the Dead, in my opinion. But yeah, next one, Sean Connery, Zardos. Weird film, weird costume he's wearing in this, but yeah. Next up, we've got, bit of an underrated horror film, Madman. Enjoyed this one. It's got Galen Ross in it from Dawn of the Dead as well. So, yeah, but it was alright. Next up, we've got The Car. This was fun. I just didn't love it, but it was definitely one of the better ones from my sort of on the hierarchy of ones that I didn't enjoy as much. But yeah, it was fun. Kind of a possessed car movie. Enjoyed it for what it was. This next one, the cover on this one looks awesome. The Exterminator, but for me, the movie, sadly, yeah, the cover's probably better than the movie. Thought the violence and gore in it was pretty good, but yeah, just enjoyed it for what it was. So yeah, that's The Exterminator. Next up, we have, I think this is another video nasty. I'm not too sure, but it's Tobe Hooper's Eaten Alive. Yeah, not great, unfortunately for me, that one. Although it does have Robert Englund in it. Next up, now this was a horror movie I did enjoy. Blood Rage, kind of about these two twins. Follows them kind of at the start of the movie when they're younger, and some of the gore in this is just absolutely horrific. But yeah, enjoyed it. That's Blood Rage. Next up, we have another horror movie, Motel Hell. Yeah, really weird film. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. Next up, we have The Beast Within. I thought this was going to be like a werewolf movie, but it's kind of not. It's just a weird creature movie. But yeah, again, another one that I enjoyed for what it was. So yeah, that is The Beast Within. Next up, we have probably one of the better zombie movies. It's not up there with the Romero stuff for me, but I just think for what this movie does, I thought it was alright. It did freak me out in parts, this movie, but it is zombie flesh eaters. I thought the music in this was absolutely awesome. Really creepy tone to it, but it's just, I don't know, there was something about it that just didn't draw me back to rewatch it again. I did enjoy the zombie fight and the shark in this movie though. Thought that was a lot of fun, but yeah, just not one of my favourites, unfortunately. So yeah, that's Zombie Flesh Eaters. Next up, we have I enjoyed this movie, I've got to be honest. The Incredible Melting Man. I saw the IMDb score on this, it was absolutely terrible. I don't even think it cracked 4. But yeah, enjoyed the movie for what it was. Silly, fun film. Speaking of silly fun, Chuck Norris, Lee Marvin, Delta Force. I absolutely loved the score in this film by Alan Silvestri. Yeah, I sometimes play that when I'm driving to work. But yeah, really, really over the top sort of plane hijack movie with, like I said, a great score. One of the few Chuck Norris films I've seen as well. So yeah, that's Delta Force. Next up, we have The Fury, Brian De Palma. Not one of my favourite De Palma movies, I'm sorry to say, but yeah, thought it was fine for what it was. So yeah, that's The Fury. And next up, we have another De Palma film, and that is Obsession. Yeah, kind of forgettable for me, this one, unfortunately. But yeah, I kind of keep all the titles that I get, just because I think maybe down the road my opinions might change about movies. It has done in the past. And yeah, I keep hold of all my Arrow stuff because I really like the work that they put into their releases. So yeah, that's Obsession. So next up, we have Deranged. I thought this movie was gross. It really, really churned my stomach. Yeah, it may not be like the most graphic horror film, but I don't know, there was just something about this movie that just didn't sit right with me. Yeah, really, really put me off my dinner. So yeah, that's Deranged. Next up, we got a movie with Kurt Russell, Dark Blue. Not one of my favourite Kurt Russell movies, I'm sorry to say, but I thought the movie was alright for what it was. Kind of this sort of early 2000s crime movie. Next up, we've got kind of this weird creature feature that I did enjoy. A couple of the cast from Home Alone in this as well. Chud. Yeah, just a really, really fun little sci-fi creature movie that, yeah, I had a lot of fun with. So yeah, that's Chud. Next up, Brian De Palma film that I'm sorry to say I did not enjoy, and that is Raising Cain, John Lithgow. Brian De Palma, John Lithgow, what could go wrong? Unfortunately, it did, and it was Raising Cain. Not a fan of this one, I'm sorry to say. Next up, we have The Happiness of the Katakuris. Yeah, a fun, colourful movie. Yeah, is what it is. Not one of my favourites, but yeah, I thought the movie was just fine. Next up, we've got, I think this is an Australian or New Zealand movie. We have Dead End Driving. Yeah, not a big fan of this one, unfortunately, but I thought the premise and the look of the movie was alright, but yeah, there was just something missing for me. Can't put my finger on what it was. A couple of Cronenberg movies now, and I'm sorry to say I wasn't a fan of these either, but maybe again, my opinion might change. We have Rabid. Yeah, I don't know what it was. There was something in this movie, it kind of put me off. I don't know what it was. It really just made me feel ill. It might be this one, or it might be the next movie, but there was a scene where someone had like a bowl of cereal, and I don't know, it just knocked me sick. I don't know why. Just can't put my finger on it, but yeah, that is Rabid. Or that scene might be in this next one, I can't remember. But yeah, we have Cronenberg's Shivers as well. Can't remember which one it is. But yeah, just thought the movie was alright. I probably enjoyed this one a little bit more. But yeah, that's Shivers. Next up, we have The Wind. I thought the premise to this was really cool. It was kind of this woman kind of on a holiday home, and she was kind of like trapped because of some really serious bad weather. But there was like a serial killer on the loose, and she couldn't leave. But the movie's execution just didn't work for me, unfortunately. But yeah, that's The Wind. Next up, we have Bride of Reanimator. Sadly, didn't live up to the hype of the first movie, which is one of my favourite horror films. I really enjoyed the first one. This one was okay. Didn't mind it too much, just thought it was alright, but just didn't have the magic of the first for me. Next up, speaking of weird movies, The Baby. Yeah, this one's bizarre. It's kind of like this adult who he just has the mindset of a child, like a really young infant, and these three women are kind of like all fighting over him, I think. It was just a weird movie, but I kind of sort of weirdly liked it. I don't know why. But yeah, that's The Baby. Next up, we have I See You. This was kind of like a creepy sort of, not home invasion, I guess, but kind of like people are living in your house, but you don't know they're there. Enjoyed it for what it was. Not one of my favourites, but yeah, that's I See You. Next up, we have, now, I do think this is a video nasty from what I've heard. Bay of Blood, could be wrong about that, but yeah, I haven't seen this one in a long time, probably due a rewatch, but yeah, that's Bay of Blood. Next up, we have Retaliation. This was kind of like a fun sort of gangster movie that I enjoyed. It had some good action sequences in it, but yeah, that's Retaliation. These next two, I've kind of got these in blue cases as opposed to clear. Have Pit Stop. Not one of my favourites, but I just thought it was fine. The next one was sent to me by Pete, Play Tender Guy. This was a weird movie on when I watched it. We have Jake Speed, John Hurt. Yeah. Big thanks to Pete for sending this to me, but the movie, the end product of the movie was just, yeah, it was just bizarre. So yeah, that's Jake Speed. And next up, we have The Blood-Stained Butterfly. From what I remember, I kind of remember just thinking it was bang average. Maybe I need to give it a rewatch, but yeah, that's The Blood-Stained Butterfly. Next up, we have The Honeymoon Killers. I wasn't a big fan of this one, I must admit. I was kind of sort of expecting like this Bonnie and Clyde epic, I guess, but I guess that's my fault. But yeah, just not one of my favourites. But yeah, that's The Honeymoon Killers. Next up, we have Burnt Offerings. I was really intrigued by this one. You've got Oliver Reed, Burgess Meredith. That on paper just sounds great. But again, the execution of this one just didn't quite work for me. So yeah, that's Burnt Offerings. And next up, we have kind of, this was kind of like a modern day, real sort of gore fest movie. Why Don't You Just Die? I thought the gore in this was top notch. It really was. It had some really, really suspenseful moments, and it was just, it was a really good film. But I don't know, just something about this movie was stopping me from rewatching it. I don't know what it was. I appreciated it more than I liked it, I guess. But yeah, I just thought it was fun for what it was. So yeah, that is Why Don't You Just Die? So next up, we've got an 80s horror movie. This is a lot of fun. We've got Night of the Comet. Yeah, kind of like this, I don't want to say zombie film, but I guess it kind of sort of is. It's just a fun little horror movie set in the 80s that I just really, really enjoyed. So yeah, that is Night of the Comet. Next up, we've got a movie that I really, really need to give a rewatch to because I've heard so many people say how much they love this film. It is by Wes Craven and it is The People Under the Stairs. I just couldn't gel with it the first time, unfortunately, but again, I want to sort of give it that rewatch. It's nothing from what I remember like Nightmare on Elm Street or Scream. It's a very different Wes Craven film, but yeah, need to give this one a rewatch. So yeah, that's The People Under the Stairs. Next up, we've got a movie with Eric Roberts and Jon Voight, Runaway Train. Really remember enjoying this one from when I watched it, so yeah, just need to give this one a rewatch. So yeah, that's Runaway Train. Next up, we kind of got a sports movie with James Caan. That is Rollerball. Yeah, this futuristic sports game. Really, just a really fun movie. James Caan is great in the lead role. I haven't seen the remake by John McTiernan, but I've heard it's trash. But yeah, enjoy this one to say the least. So yeah, that's Rollerball. Next up, we've got probably one of the movies to kickstart the teen sex comedy genre, Bob Clark's Porky's. I desperately need to give this movie a rewatch. I've only seen it the once, and I can't really remember too much about it. I just remember Kim Cattrall's in it. I remember that scene as well with the kind of sort of glory hole, I guess. But yeah, just need to give this one a rewatch because I haven't seen it in ages. So yeah, that's Porky's. Next up, we've got another sort of 80s kind of horror movie. Really enjoy this one as well. We've got the stuff, kind of like this meteor comes in. It reminds me of The Blob a little bit, this movie. It's just this substance lands on Earth and it's just highly, highly addictive. Obviously, people get hooked on it, gets sold, mass produced and sold. And yeah, it's turns out it's not good for you. But yeah, that's the stuff. Next up, we've got another Wes Craven movie, and that is Deadly Blessing. I think you've got young Sharon Stone in this one as well, from what I remember. Yeah, enjoyed this movie for what it was. And yeah, got some creepy moments with a couple of spiders in there as well. So yeah, that's Deadly Blessing. Next up, we've got Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead. Yeah, just remember this one being really, really gory, really, really awesome effects, particularly that scene with that woman spewing up her insides. But yeah, just had fun with this one. Like I said, some fun effects in there. So that's City of the Living Dead. Next up, again, we kind of got a different take on a zombie movie, I guess. Nightmare City. I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun, but I think the ending is going to make or break this movie for a lot of people. Definitely not for everyone, but for me, I kind of just enjoyed the whole movie as a package. I kind of got what that ending was going for. But yeah, that's Nightmare City. Next up, we have Madhouse. Yeah, I enjoyed this movie for what it was. There were some cool sequences that involved a drill. That's all I'll say about it. But yeah, just had fun with this one. So yeah, that's Madhouse. Next up, we've got a horror classic, Demons. Still haven't seen the second one, but I really, really enjoy this one. It's got a great setting that takes place in a movie theatre, and this mask that just kind of like ends up sort of causing this massive infection. And yeah, what a fun film. Really, really awesome stuff. I always remember, not this artwork, but I think the original artwork, people just being that absolutely being synonymous with this movie. And yeah, just a really, really fun horror film. So yeah, that's Demons. Next up, we've got What Have You Done to Solange. This was a fun movie. I enjoyed this for what it was. Pretty solid. But yeah, maybe need to give this one a rewatch again soon. So yeah, that's What Have You Done to Solange. Next up, we've got another video nasty. Don't Go in the House. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed this movie. It kind of reminded me of Psycho a little bit. But yeah, obviously there's some stuff in this movie that probably earned its place on the video's nasty list. And yeah, just enjoyed it for what it was. So yeah, that's Don't Go in the House. A lot of fun with this next one. I think this is from the early 90s. Frankenhooker. Kind of this guy who ends up sort of accidentally killing his girlfriend and he wants to bring her back to life. But in order to do so, he has to kind of make this Frankenstein monster of parts of hair and also parts of prostitutes, hence the title Frankenhooker. Yeah, just a really, really bizarre but fun movie nonetheless. So yeah, that's Frankenhooker. Next up, we've got a bit more of a modern movie, The Last Matinee. Yeah, I didn't enjoy this movie as much as I wanted to, I must admit, but I still thought it was fun. It had a fun premise, a fun setting in this kind of sort of theatre, and yeah, it was kind of on paper did everything right, but I don't know, I just couldn't gel with the movie as much as I wanted to. So yeah, that's The Last Matinee. Next up, we have Girls' Night Out. Not a great horror movie. It's got some poor execution in this film. The killer's costume doesn't look the best. It kind of looks like that sequence from Mac and Me when he has to dress up as a bear. But yeah, the ending of this movie I thought was quite creepy. It doesn't reinvent the wheel in terms of horror or anything like that. But for me, I don't know, something about that ending just stuck with me. Don't know what it was. But yeah, that's Girls' Night Out. And next up, we've got kind of another horror movie. I think this is, again, from the 80s. We have Hell High. this was a lot of fun. Enjoyed this movie. Fun setting, kind of. First part of the movie sort of takes place at the school, and the next time like at the teacher's house. But I just, yeah, enjoyed it for what it was. A good fun slasher film, kind of. So yeah, that's Hell High. Next up, I think this is a British horror movie. At least I know this has got, I think, Jimmy Nail and Timothy Spall in it. So we've got Dream Demon. Yeah, enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, just had a good time with it. So, bit of an underrated horror. That's Dream Demon. Next up, we have, I think this is a Spanish movie. Yeah, Wreck. Yeah, really, really solid horror film. Found footage style. And one hell of a creepy ending. Really, really enjoyed this one. Yeah, just scares the bejesus out of you with that shock ending. So yeah, that's Wreck. Next up, definitely on the Video Nasties list, this one, we have Driller Killer. Yeah, just really, really awesome effects. The movie itself, for me, is not the best. There's a band in this movie. They just bring a whole new meaning to the word awful. And weirdly, the movie kind of put me off pizza. I just was watching this character eat this pizza and he's just shoving it into his face, and it really, really made me feel nauseous. Yeah, it kind of just put me off pizza. So whenever I'm having pizza, I just try not to think of this film. So yeah, that's The Driller Killer. Next up, we have Dario Argento's Inferno. Yeah, this is definitely one that belongs amongst his roster. Like movies I'm going to get into soon, like Deep Red, Inferno, Tenebrae. Yeah, this one's definitely amongst that sort of caliber for me. So really enjoyed this one. That's Inferno. Now this next one, I've heard a lot of people say they absolutely hate this film. I have to be honest, I enjoyed it. Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. I had fun with this film. I really enjoyed it. I know this is not a good movie, but this was a bad movie that I just absolutely loved. Just, for me, it was just so entertaining. Really, really had a good blast with this one. So, yeah, that's Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. Really good creature feature film. We have Brain Damage. I really, really enjoyed this one. Kind of follows this little parasite who kind of gives this character like sort of a new lease, and is kind of quite addictive, quite a addictive relationship the two of them form. But yeah, I just enjoyed it. I loved the imagery in this movie. I thought the backstory as well behind the parasite was really, really fun and interesting. And yeah, just some great effects. Really, really fun movie. So yeah, that is Brain Damage. Next up, we've got probably one of my favourite Video Nasties. I love this film. It's a great slasher movie. Great setting as well in the camp. And that is The Burning. Cropsey. Yeah, just a fun, great villain. The raft sequence in this film, top notch for the time. Tom Savini absolutely smashed it out of the park. Yeah, just a really good slasher movie in my opinion. Got some fun cast members in it who were kind of like, you can kind of spot them in this film before they were famous. And yeah, Jason Alexander, Fisher Stevens, Holly Hunter. Yeah, just a really fun slasher movie. So yeah, that's The Burning. Next up, we have The Guyver. I enjoyed this movie. It's terrible, it's cheesy, it's fun. It's kind of like Power Rangers, I guess, but on a bit more of a weirder budget. And yeah, just enjoyed the movie. It's fun. Fun cast to it as well. Mark Hamill, and you've got the mayor from RoboCop 2. I forget his name. Well, yeah, Michael Berryman as well. Just a fun movie. Enjoyed it. It's not great by any means, but entertaining. And next up, we've got a bit more of a modern film. I need to give this one a rewatch because I do remember kind of enjoying it, and that was Dinner in America. Yeah, again, another movie with a great cast. Kind of goes under the radar a little bit, but I'm glad Arrow put it out. So yeah, that's Dinner in America. Next up, we have Horror Express. Yeah, This again was a fun movie, but I just didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. Again, everything on paper, it should have worked for me. Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, a horror paranoia movie, kind of like The Thing that takes place on a train. I should have really, really enjoyed this one, but don't know what it was. There was just something stopping me from loving it. But nonetheless, I still enjoyed the film for what it was. So that's Horror Express. Next up, this was a fun kind of sort of soldier movie that I enjoyed, again with a great cast. Richard Burton, Richard Harris and Roger Moore. The Wild Geese. Bit of a different take for Roger Moore, I must say. It was kind of like strange to see him play a bit more of a brutal role in this movie. Kind of used to him playing James Bond and having this charm about him and a real sort of fun presence in those movies that he did. But yeah, this one was a really good one for him to do against type. So yeah, enjoyed this movie for what it was. So yeah, that's The Wild Geese. So next up we have probably my favourite movie on the Arrow label, and that is The Last American Virgin. I've talked about this movie to death. I absolutely love it. I find it fascinating that it's kind of like been quite divisive amongst the community. People either seem to love it, really enjoy it, or just absolutely detest this film. And yeah, but for me, it's one I absolutely love. I don't know, I just found this movie really, really relatable. I just love the movie. I love the setting. I love the ending. I love the soundtrack. It just really worked for me. So yeah, that's The Last American Virgin. Next up, we've got one of my favourite comedies from the late 80s, Fish Called Wanda. Great cast in this movie. Heist movie, a lot of fun, a lot of double crossing. And yeah, the whole cast is just having a ball in this film. So yeah, that's A Fish Called Wanda. Next up, we have, again, one of my favourite movies from the late 80s, Heathers, Christian Slater. A massive crush on Winona Ryder in this movie from when I was younger. And yeah, just absolutely adore this film, Heathers. Next up, we've got one of my favourite Joe Dante movies, and that is Matinee. Really, really enjoy this one with John Goodman. A lot of fun. Yeah, just really, really enjoy it. Might be high praise to say it's one of my favourite Joe Dante movies. He's made some incredible films, but I kind of have to stick by that statement. I just really, really enjoy it. So yeah, that's Matinee. And speaking of Joe Dante, this next one is The Burbs, Tom Hanks. This is one that I'm not quite in love with this movie just yet. I'm getting there. I really didn't like it the first time I watched it, but on rewatch, the more and more we rewatch the movie, I'm getting there. I'm liking it more and more. I just need to keep rewatching it, but yeah, it's not one that I completely love yet, but I am getting there. So yeah, that's The Burbs. Next up, we've got an underrated crime movie with Roy Scheider, and that is 52 Pickup. Really, really good movie, this one. Really underrated. Yeah, Roy Scheider is absolutely fantastic in it. So yeah, that's 52 Pickup. Next up, we've got one of the most batshit movies I've ever seen, and I absolutely love it. The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. I can't explain the plot of this movie. I don't know if anyone can. But yeah, have a look on IMDb at the cast in this movie. I think every man and his dog is in this film. But yeah, it's just a really, really fun, over-the-top movie that I just absolutely love. So yeah, that's The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. Speaking of movies I love the ending of this movie, Society. This is just one of the craziest films ever. It's Baywatch meets The Thing. It's just so bizarre. The last sort of half hour, 20 minutes of this movie, I just can't take my eyes off the screen. There's a sequence in this film called The Shunting, which is just jaw-dropping. I just can't believe what I'm seeing, and I just love every second of it. It's just so bizarre, so creative, and just a great climax to a horror film. But yeah, the build-up to it is, I must admit, it's not great. The acting's a bit weird, the story's a bit all over the place, but the end of this movie, wow. So yeah, that's Society. Next up, we've got a movie by William Friedkin, and that is To Live and Die in LA. Super, super underrated crime movie, this one. It's up there for me with his other movies like The Exorcist and The French Connection. Really, really solid film. So yeah, that's To Live and Die in LA. Next up, we've got another early film from De Palma, and that is Sisters. Really enjoy this film. Really, really creepy vibes to it. And Margot Kidder's fantastic in the movie as well. Yeah, just a really, really good, solid De Palma movie. So yeah, that's Sisters. Next up, got another film with Roy Scheider, Adam Baldwin as well, and that is Cohen and Tate. Really awesome movie about these two hitmen who are tasked with sort of kidnapping this child who was this witness to this crime. And as they kidnap the child's very, very clever. Kind of sort of plays the two hitmen against each other. And it's got a phenomenal ending, which I just absolutely loved. So that's Cohen and Tate. Next up, we've got Tobe Hooper's Life Force. This was a lot of fun. Really, really enjoyed this film. Had a great time with it. Loved the effects in it as well. Yeah, just an awesome movie. So yeah, that is Life Force. Next up, we've got a great vampire movie from the 80s, and that is Vamp. Grace Jones. Yeah, whether it's a good or a bad thing, Grace Jones doesn't really speak in this movie, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really had a lot of fun with it. For me, it doesn't quite hit the heights of Fright Night or The Lost Boys, but I still enjoy it. I think Fright Night for me still takes the crown of best vampire movie from the 80s. But yeah, really enjoy this one for what it is. A lot of fun. Great fun casting it as well. Next one we've got is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. This is a fun, sexy movie. It's just, yeah, it's a good time. Really, really enjoy it. It's got some laughs in there. Elvira's great. Sandra Patterson in the role. It's her movie. She's the star of the show. And yeah, it's just a fun movie. Really enjoy it. So that's Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Next one, this is a bit of a weird one, but I must confess I really enjoyed it. It is FM. It's kind of a concept movie, and it kind of like follows these characters at the radio station that they work at. I really enjoyed this one. Thought it was pretty solid. Give it a go if you've not seen it. Next up, we have Anthony Edwards in The Miracle Mile. This was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. Yeah, just about these this guy who gets this phone call to say, a bomb's going to go off. And yeah, he kind of has to like convince everyone to kind of like flee and evacuate. And it's just a fun movie. Really, really enjoy it. Really have a good time with this one. So that's Miracle Mile. Next up, we have the late Bob Hoskins, late Robbie Coltrane in Mona Lisa. Michael Caine plays a great villain in this movie as well. Great British gangster film. And yeah, a lot of fun. Bob Hoskins is just great in this film. So yeah, that is Mona Lisa. Next up, we've got a really, really awesome film by the Wachowskis. Gina Gershon, Jennifer Tilly, Bound. Really, really awesome, sexy movie. This about these two women. One of their boyfriends is kind of like this criminal. He's just pulled off this robbery, and these two women form this relationship, and they kind of want to be together and come out good on top. And I just really, really enjoyed this film. Really, really solid. So yeah, that is Bound. Next up, we have one of my favourite Michael Caine movies, and that is Dressed to Kill by De Palma. Love this film. Really, really awesome. Creepy ending as well. Yeah, a lot of fun with this one. So that is Dressed to Kill. Next up, this movie is probably desperate for a rewatch from me, and it is Christopher Walken in The King of New York. Just couldn't quite gel with this movie the first time I watched it, but like I said, need to give it a rewatch. So yeah, that is The King of New York. Next up from Michael Mann, great James Caan movie, this one, we have Thief. I absolutely love the soundtrack in this film. It's a really, really solid crime movie, and yeah, well worth checking out. So yeah, that is Thief. Next up, we've got a horror movie, and yeah, this was pretty cool, quite creepy in parts. I have to say, it's Pulse. Yeah, just a really awesome horror film. Really, really creepy in moments. Kind of like reminded me a little bit of The Ring and The Grudge, but yeah, just a really, really solid horror film. So yeah, that is Pulse. And next up, we've got two John Hughes movies. The first one we've got is Weird Science. Not one of my favourite John Hughes movies, I must admit. There are things about this movie I like. Vernon Wells, Bill Paxton, I think are great in this movie. But I don't know, just something about the premise just doesn't really win me over. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's a mixed bag, this one for me. So yeah, that is Weird Science. And next up we've got John Hughes' directorial debut, 16 Candles. I kind of feel very similar about this movie as I do Weird Science. There's just something about it that stops me from loving it. Don't know what it is, but it's a fun movie nonetheless. And yeah, just I've enjoyed it for what it was. So yeah, that is 16 Candles. So next up we have the Street Fighter trilogy starring Sonny Chiba. First heard about these movies in, of course, True Romance. Watched the three of them. They're a fun, good time. They kind of just sort of blend as one for me. But yeah, they are what they are. Have a fun time with them. So yeah, that is the Street Fighter trilogy. And the next trilogy we've got is the Game trilogy. Yeah, kind of similar to the Street Fighter movies. They kind of just sort of blend as one for me. They are what they are. Probably not going to go back to these anytime soon, but yeah, enjoyed them for what they were. So that's the Game trilogy. Next up, we've got the first 4K. This was a movie sent to me by Jason Brett and his partner Soph. Really wanted to check this movie out, and I had fun with it. That is Silent Running, starring Bruce Dern. Really cool sci-fi movie. Really, really enjoyed it. A lot of heart to this one, and yeah, just thought it was a good, solid film. So yeah, that's the first 4K, Silent Running. Next up, we've got the one and only window box from Arrow, that when they used to do the window boxes, that I've got, and I adore this film, and it is Maniac Cop. Yeah, I like this movie. I like the second one as well. I'm not a big fan of the third one, where it tries to kind of explain how Matt Cordell is the way he is through voodoo. Doesn't work for me, but the first two movies, particularly the first one, really, really solid. Just, yeah, absolutely love this movie. I love the way it unravels. I love the cast. Tom Atkins, Robert Zadar, Bruce Campbell. Even got a little cameo in there from Sam Raimi as well. I just love this movie. I just think it's fantastic. It's got a great score as well. So yeah, that is Maniac Cop. And then we're going to be moving into some of the steelbooks now. The first one we've got is Vincent Price in Theatre of Blood. Got to hold it this way, just so just because that's the way the artwork, because the artwork on this one is more landscape. So yeah, fun movie. Enjoyed it for what it was. Kind of this actor who was slated by these critics and wants to get revenge against them through, hideous and evil ways. And yeah, the movie's fun. For that, it's got a great that's the great sort of concept about the movie. But yeah, that's Theatre of Blood. Next up, this is probably one of my most least favourite titles on the Arrow label that they've put out. But yeah, again, Arrow isn't really responsible for these movies, but this is what they've picked. White of the Eye. Couldn't get into this at all. Really, really wasn't for me. Didn't enjoy it one little bit. But yeah, that is White of the Eye. That's all I have to say about it. These next steelbooks, these are some of my favourites. Really, really enjoy it. I love the artwork on these. So the first one again, another movie with Bob Hoskins, A Long Good Friday. Really, really awesome British gangster movie in this. The soundtrack again is amazing. Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan. Really, really violent as well towards the end. So yeah, that's The Long Good Friday. So next up, we have John Travolta, Nancy Allen, and John Lithgow in Brian De Palma's Blowout. We've also got Dennis Franz in there as well. Really, really enjoy this one. John Travolta's great in it, playing the sound technician who kind of picks up on something that he maybe shouldn't have, that involves, this crime. And I just really, really enjoy it. John Lithgow is just absolutely menacing in this movie. Really, really solid film. So yeah, that is Blowout. Next up, we've got a sci-fi classic from the late 70s, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This recently got a 4K release, but I'm just going to stick with the Blu-ray on this one. I don't really watch the movie all that much, but yeah, I enjoy it for what it is. Great cast, awesome ending, really, really fun film. So yeah, that is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Next up, we've got one of my favourite movies from the early 70s. I just adored this movie from the first time I watched it. Another great Brian De Palma film, and that is Phantom of the Paradise. Yeah, this is just a great musical. I know that can kind of be the kiss of death for people and put them off, but I just love the plot of this movie. It's just great following this guy who wrote his cantata. Goes to like try and get a contract to try and promote it and get it out there, get it out in the public, and obviously the top person, Swan, absolutely just fucks him over and just ruins him and passes it off as his own, and he just tries to seek revenge and he gets horribly disfigured. I just love the movie, loved everything about it, just thought it was awesome. So yeah, that is Phantom of the Paradise. Next up, we've got one of my favourite John Carpenter movies. I just absolutely love it. Yeah, Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China. Absolutely love the artwork on this one. What a fun film. It's just absolute batshit bonkers. Really, really enjoy it. I love just how clumsy Jack Burton is in this movie. His sidekick pretty much is the hero of the film. But yeah, it's just a great, great film. Colourful. Lots of crazy stuff going on. Just really, really enjoyed it. So that is Big Trouble in Little China. And the last steelbook I have on the Arrow label is, of course, George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. This is, yeah, his third entry into the Dead series, and all three movies for me are really, really solid home runs. Tom Savini is the star of the show, though, in this movie. His makeup effects are... it's his masterpiece. It's just absolutely phenomenal. What he couldn't get right in Dawn of the Dead, he gets right in Day of the Dead in terms of effects. And yeah, this movie doesn't have the characters that you root for in those first two movies, but it just has some great fun over the top acting, and like I said, that gore is the star of the show. Yeah, phenomenal film. So that is Day of the Dead. So next up, we're going to move into some of the Blu-ray and 4K box sets now. So the first one we have is the House Collection. Yeah, this isn't the special edition one. This is just the standard release that comes without the booklet. But yeah, these movies are very average and miss for me. Yeah, just the first couple are all right. I remember enjoying House 3, despite how bad it is. House 4, one of the worst movies I've ever seen. There's just nothing redeemable about that film. But yeah, they're fun for what they are, I guess. So yeah, that is the House Collection. Next up, we've got the 4 classic westerns in the Vengeance Trails box set. Yeah, these movies are a lot of fun for what they are. Don't really sort of, hit the heights again of the Man with No Name trilogy, the Sergio Leone only stuff, but yeah, they're good westerns. They look good. I think Klaus Kinski was in a few of these, but yeah, just fun westerns. So yeah, that's the Vengeance Trails box set. Next up, we have the Vengeance trilogy. Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Old Boy, and Lady Vengeance. I remember Old Boy being the best one out of this trilogy for me, but I'm still not a big fan of that film, to be honest. But yeah, enjoy these movies for what they are. So yeah, that is the Vengeance trilogy. Next up, we have the Ring collection. So yeah, this has the Ring, Ring 2, and Ring O. Yeah, my personal favourite is the first one, as it goes with sort of most film series. But yeah, this is a really, really awesome horror movie. Didn't mind the American remake as much, but I still prefer the original Japanese one. I just think it's a really, really effective horror film. So yeah, that is the Ring collection. Next up, we have the Grudge collection. So yeah, the first movie in this set is on 4K. The rest are on Blu-ray. These are really, really creepy films. I was a bit apprehensive about watching these because of how creepy I've seen some of the clips to these movies, but yeah, they weren't as scary as I thought they were going to be, but they're still pretty creepy, and I still enjoyed them, still had a blast with them. But yeah, that first movie, The Grudge, for me is probably the best of the bunch. So yeah, that is the Grudge collection. Next up, we've got, one of my favourite foreign movies. Really have a blast with this one. So this is the two movies, the first and the second. It's the Battle Royale collection. Just what a great concept about population control. Let's put all these kids together on this island and they have to kind of kill each other for survival. Certain rules to stick by. And yeah, the last one winning his prizes that they get to live. It's just a creepy concept. I hope it never happens, but yeah, just this great dystopian movie with some great creative choices that the movie makes. So yeah, that is the Battle Royale collection. Next up, we have the Daimajin trilogy. Yeah, these movies were fun for what they were. I just enjoyed them. Again, similar to the Street Fighter movies, they kind of just blended in as all as one. But yeah, had fun with it for what they were, and yeah, Arrow put together a nice box set. So yeah, that's the Daimajin trilogy. Next up, we've got another Western box set, and that is the complete Satana box set. Yeah, fun movies, enjoyed them for what they were. We're kind of in a similar vein, cut from the same cloth as the Vengeance Trails movies. Yeah, just fun westerns. So yeah, that is the complete Satana collection. And next up, we've got the Hellraiser trilogy. This again is just the standard release of the first three movies. I'm not the biggest fan of this series, but the Hellraiser films, I like them for what they are. They're not my go-to when I think of classic horror. The first one for me is the best, and then they kind of sort of progressively get worse, but I still enjoy the first three movies. And to be honest, the first three are the only three that I've seen. I haven't seen anything past the third movie, but I still enjoy these films for what they are. But I'm not in any rush to go out and get the new 4K releases that these movies have got. But yeah, they just are what they are for me. So yeah, that is the Hellraiser collection. So coming up next, we have the Showa era of Gamera, and also of Gamera we have the Heisei era. Yeah, these are two fun box sets. I kind of enjoyed the Showa era just a little bit more. They had that sort of cheaper feel about them that I wanted from these kind of kaiju movies. And yeah, they're a lot of fun, really, really tongue-in-cheek movies. They know what they are. They're very self-aware, I think. But yeah, they're just fun, over-the-top, great monster movies. So yeah, that's pretty much the Gamera collection that Arrow have put out. So coming up next, we have the Female Prisoner Scorpion box set. I loved all four of these movies. But for me, again, the standout probably is the first one. I just thought it was absolutely awesome. Just an epic prison movie. Great set of characters in it as well. Great story. Bit sort of erotic as well at times. But yeah, it was just a really, really solid movie. Really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, that is the Female Prisoner Scorpion collection. Next up, these are all pretty much the recent Arrow releases. This is probably the most recent one, and it is the Blu-ray collection of the Conan movies. I'm sorry that I missed out on the 4K with this one, but again, I've heard the Blu-ray transfer isn't too bad with what they've done. But yeah, I enjoyed the first one. I haven't seen the second one since the VHS days. But yeah, probably due to give these a rewatch. So yeah, that is the Conan Chronicles. And next up, we've got pretty much the first of three box sets that Arrow released last year. and these are all home runs for me. So the first one we've got is on 4K, the complete Psycho collection. This, looking back and reflecting on it, I wasn't going to pick this box set up because I had the first one on 4K already in the first volume 1 of the Hitchcock box set. Psycho 2 I had on Blu-ray, and I wasn't a big fan of parts 3 and 4. And looking back on it, I'm really, really glad I picked this up because, again, looking back, I think that this box set that Arrow put out, is kind of like a bit of a miracle, because I just don't think we're ever going to see a box set again with all 4 films in it together, especially on 4K as well. So I'm kind of glad I did pull the trigger on this. It's a bit different to some of their releases as well. This one does come with like a clear slip with the movies as well, and the print on the back all kind of printed on that slipcover, which is a bit unusual for Arrow, but nonetheless, everything that they've done with this set I've absolutely loved so far. I think the transfers look really nice. I've only watched the first 2 so far, but yeah, really, really awesome box set. So that is the complete Psycho collection on 4K. Next up, we've got another 4K collection, and it is the Golden Harvest box set, the Bruce Lee collection. So this has the Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, Enter the Dragon, even though in this set that movie is only on Blu-ray, because I think Warner Brothers released their own 4K of that film. And I've got Game of Death 1 and 2 as well. So yeah, I really need to start delving into this box set. It's chock-a-block full of special features. I haven't seen, again, similar to Conan the Destroyer, I haven't seen most of these movies apart from Enter the Dragon since the VHS days. So really, really need to start doing my homework on this one. So yeah, that is Bruce Lee, the Golden Harvest collection. And next up, again, the third, this is just a brilliant release. I just absolutely love it. From last year, we have the Arrow Video Store collection. Yeah, really, really fun movies in this one. Really enjoyed all 5 of them. So we've got Robot Jox, Arena, Cellar Dweller, Dolls, and the Dungeon Master. All in this great sort of box set. It comes, obviously the design is meant to look like a video store. It comes with this great video magazine in it as well, and the sort of video store card, I should say. And yeah, it's just presented so nicely. Comes again with a slip case as well for the box. And yeah, they just really, really did some amazing work in 2023, I think, Arrow. So yeah, that's the Arrow Video Store box set. So coming up next, we're going into some of the Blu-ray and 4K special editions for single title releases now. And the first one we've got is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Yeah, if there was ever a follow-up to a movie to go in a completely different direction to the first film, I think that is well captured in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So different to the first movie, but I still really like this film. I do have the first movie on 4K, but that's on the Second Sight label. And yeah, it's a fun film. Really, really enjoy it. Like I said, it couldn't be more different to the first movie, but it does go for more of that comedy than horror, but I still enjoy it. So yeah, that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Next up, we have, with Charlton Heston, Major Dundee. Not one of the movies that I'm going to go back to and rewatch a hell of a lot, but I still enjoyed this for what it was. It was a good movie, it was well acted, but yeah, just not one that I'm going to rewatch. So that's Major Dundee. Next up, from Gaspar Noé, we have Enter the Void. Now, his movies are completely bonkers for me. I think some people absolutely love them, or you're either going to absolutely really hate them. And yeah, this one you can definitely tell when watching it. It's definitely from his filmography. It absolutely oozes his style. But yeah, not one I'm going to rewatch, pretty similar to Major Dundee. But I still enjoyed it for what it was. So yeah, that's Enter the Void. Next up, from Wes Craven, we have The Last House on the Left, another video nasty. Yeah, I wanted to get this because I'd never seen the uncut version of the film, and I wanted to see what clips had been taken out, and what had been missing. And yeah, it's a very disturbing film, and it's not an easy watch, not in terms of the context, but kind of just how the way the film's made. It's a bit of an awkward watch, but it's very brutal as well. Some of the scenes that were cut were just absolutely horrific. Genuinely, at some points, felt like you were watching a real murder. But it's testament to the effects of the film because they just really do look amazing. But this film isn't for everyone. So yeah, that is The Last House on the Left. And again from Wes Craven, we have The Hills Have Eyes. Now, this unfortunately, this is the 4K, but it is unfortunately one of the worst 4Ks I own. It's just the way that the movie films. It doesn't translate well over that transfer to 4K. It doesn't look good, I'm sorry to say. But I still enjoy the film nevertheless. It's not for everyone, but yeah, I do still enjoy it. So yeah, that's The Hills Have Eyes. And again, following up with that, we have The Hills Have Eyes Part 2 on Blu-ray. So this is kind of like a follow-up. I think the movie's not good. It's... Even the people who made it knew that this wasn't good, and it was kind of like a complete cash grab. They kind of just made it because they knew the first film had done well and they needed money, and they were just like, let's just make a sequel to it because we need the money, and it's probably going to make money because of how bankable the name is. And yeah, it's kind of replays, you know, a greatest hits of that first movie. It's nowhere near as shameless as Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, but I still enjoyed this movie. It's not good, but I can't say I had a bad time with it. So yeah, that is The Hills Have Eyes Part 2. Next up from Brian De Palma, we have Carrie. One of the best Stephen King adaptations for me. I absolutely love the book, and I love the film as well. Great performance from Sissy Spacek and a young John Travolta in this as well. Really, really awesome movie. It's very different to the book. Although the film and the book are telling the same story, the way they tell the story is very, very different. And yeah, I just enjoy the film. I think it's a great horror film from the 70s. So yeah, that is Carrie. Next up, we've got, yeah, hands down my favourite Paul Verhoeven movie, and that is RoboCop on 4K. Absolutely phenomenal film, borderline flawless for me. Just an amazing, amazing film. Great, great story. Absolutely love this movie. It's a masterpiece for me. Really, really enjoy it. And yeah, so rewatchable. And just glad to own it on 4K because the movie looks amazing. So yeah, that is the 4K of RoboCop. Next up on 4K, we have early 90s creature feature movie. A lot of fun. Tremors, starring Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. Yeah, just a really, really great time, this movie. Have a lot of fun with it. Great outdoor setting. Love the way the movie looks. Very creative, very fun, and just got some great characters in it. So yeah, great suspenseful moments in it as well. So yeah, that is Tremors. And following on from that, we have Tremors 2, Aftershocks. The movie definitely suffers from the fact that Kevin Bacon didn't return for this one. Fred Ward does his best to carry the movie on his own, I think. There are some fun other characters in it as well. But decent little follow-up despite Kevin Bacon not being in it. And yeah, I enjoyed this one for what it was. Not bad, not to be sniffed at all. But yeah, a fun movie, but just not as good as the first. So yeah, that's the 4K of Tremors 2. Next up on 4K, we have Wild Things. Yeah, this is just, again, another very sexy, raunchy movie with Denise Richards and Neve Campbell. Yeah, really, really fun movie. Lots of twists and turns along the way. It's just absolutely bonkers the way that this movie goes, and I just absolutely love it. Yeah, although Kevin Bacon wasn't in Tremors 2, he was definitely in this. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So yeah, that's the 4K of Wild Things. Next up from David Lynch, I know this is not the most loved David Lynch movie, and I think even himself has kind of distanced himself from this film, and it is June. Yeah, just it's I guess it was kind of like the best attempt that they could do of adapting the book. I think the new Denis Villeneuve films are absolutely smashing it out of the park. But yeah, this is what it is. It's a product of the time. I think it was a failed attempt of trying to adapt pretty much at the time an unfilmable book. And yeah, but I still like the movie though. I still think it's okay. It's not great. It's definitely not Lynch's finest hour, but yeah, it's fine for what it is. Love it or hate it. So yeah, that's Dune. Next up, we've got an absolutely fantastic Harrison Ford film. So this was a 4K release on, I think, the American Arrow label, and that is Harrison Ford in Witness. Absolutely fantastic film about this Amish boy who witnesses this murder, has to go kind of under the Witness Protection Act, and Harrison Ford is assigned to look after him. Great film, great acting, great setting. Really, really enjoy it, and got some young familiar faces in it as well. So yeah, absolutely fantastic film. That's Witness. Next up, we have The Warriors on 4K from, again, the American Arrow store. Yeah, just a brilliant, brilliant movie about this gang that gets framed for murder, go on the run overnight, and it's just a great, great suspenseful gang movie. Really, really enjoy this one. So yeah, that is The Warriors. Next up for me, we have hands down the greatest werewolf movie of all time, and it is John Landis's An American Werewolf in London on 4K. This movie looks amazing. It blew me away the first time I watched it on Blu-ray, and the 4K did it again. Great, great film. Really, really enjoyed this one. One of Landis's best. Great chemistry between the two leads. Great effects, in my opinion. Really enjoy it. Still hold up for me for the time. And yeah, just one of the best transformation sequences ever. Really, really enjoy this one. So yeah, that's An American Werewolf in London on 4K. Also on 4K, we have Brian De Palma's Carlito's Way with Al Pacino and Sean Penn. Probably my favourite Al Pacino movie. I just adore this film. I like it a little bit more than Scarface. I know that could be quite controversial, but yeah, I just have a blast with this film. It's so rewatchable, so entertaining. It's got some great dialogue in it. Really enjoy the characters. Great suspenseful final act of the movie, and yeah, just what an ending. So yeah, that's Carlito's Way. Next up, we've got one of my favourite films from 1993, written by Quentin Tarantino and directed by Tony Scott. Absolutely amazing ensemble cast in this film. True Romance. This movie blew me away the first time I watched it. I was hooked on the dialogue, and I love the ending to this film. I love the way it plays out to that final confrontation. Brilliant, brilliant performances in it. Again, just Google who's in this movie if you've not seen it. Just what a cast. Gary Oldman disappears in this film. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, on 4K we have True Romance. And another film starring Christian Slater, although taking a bit more of a supporting role in this film, we have Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I think this is the Zavvi exclusive Steelbook Collector's Edition. So yeah, really, really enjoy this film. Probably my favourite Robin Hood live action movie. Doesn't come close to the Disney animated one for me. But yeah, I enjoy this film. Really, really have a good time with it. It's kind of one of these movies that's not a Christmas film, but I still watch it around Christmas. And yeah, I just have a great time with it. So yeah, that's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So coming up next, we've got a few Blu-rays, and the first one we've got is Kevin Costner again in Waterworld. I quite enjoy this film. It's definitely, you know, a big budget movie that you can tell bombed. It just didn't make its money back at all. But you can definitely see where the money went in the production value of this film. I think it looks grand. It looks like it's got a great spectacle to it. But yeah, it's again a movie not for everyone, but I still enjoy it. I still think it's a fun time. So yeah, that's on Blu-ray, Waterworld. Next up, we have the follow-up to Creepshow, and that is Creepshow 2. Not as good as the first one. I do have the first one on the Scream Factory 4K. That movie looks amazing, and yeah, this is a really good follow-up. I think it struggles from the fact that it only touches on 3 stories instead of 5. I would have liked to have seen at least another one in this movie. The animation's a lot of fun, but the stories themselves I think are really good. My favourite probably being the raft one. But yeah, I still think it's a decent follow-up. It's a good companion piece to Creepshow if you watch that movie and you want more. Yeah, I think you can definitely watch the 2 back to back and enjoy the 8 stories, definitely. But yeah, it's a fun movie, but not as good as the first. So yeah, on Blu-ray, that is Creepshow 2. Next up, we have David Cronenberg's Crash. A bit of a bizarre film for me, this one. I'm not sure if I like this movie or not. I can't put my finger on it. But yeah, it's got a good, solid cast. Just talking about the positives. Interesting premise, but yeah, it's just a bit of a weird film. So yeah, that is Crash on Blu-ray. So moving back into 4K now, another Cronenberg film. We have Naked Lunch, starring Peter Weller. Again, I like this movie because I'm a big Peter Weller fan. I think he's a fantastic, underrated actor. But yeah, this movie, very, very strange, very, very bizarre, but there's something very likable about it. I don't know what it is, can't put my finger on it. But yeah, very, very interesting film to say the least. So yeah, that is Naked Lunch. And again, another Cronenberg on 4K from 1983. We have Videodrome with Debbie Harry and James Woods. Very, very interesting movie, sort of about exploitation videos and what they kind of all mean and what they're all about in this universe. And yeah, just a bizarre body horror movie. Really, really fun and enjoyable time. So yeah, on 4K, that is Videodrome. Next up as well on 4K, we have the Best Picture winner from 1987, I want to say, and that is The Last Emperor. For me, not one of the most exciting films to win Best Picture. I do like this movie. It's not one I go back and rewatch a hell of a lot, but it has the Too Much to Drink Dr. Jones guy from Temple of Doom in it, and he's always a lot of fun whenever he pops up in a film. So yeah, that is The Last Emperor. Next up, we have Donnie Darko with Jake Gyllenhaal on 4K. This box set itself is a little bit beefier than all the others. It's got a nice, solid hardback book to it and a poster. But yeah, this is a movie, again, I love more and more on rewatch. I think it's got a phenomenal cast, a great soundtrack. Absolutely love this film. But again, it's not a movie for everyone. I think its plot and its story can be a bit weird for some people, and that's absolutely fine. It was for me as well, but it still is, but I still like the movie in spite of that. I just have a great time with it. So yeah, that's Donnie Darko. Next up, we've got a horror film from the early 90s, and that is Candyman with Tony Todd. Yeah, probably a role he's just most famous for, I think. With Candyman, really, really enjoy it. Really like the backstory to this film. Just a really, really awesome horror movie with some great gore. So yeah, that's Candyman. Next up, we've got a fun 80s slasher. This one's just bizarre. It's over the top with its gore, and that is Pieces. Really, really fun movie. I remember watching this for the first time at university and just being really creeped out by that ending. Yeah, a lot of fun. Maybe, some unintentionally bad acting in this film that's hilarious, but yeah, really, really enjoy it. So that's Pieces. And next up on Blu-ray, we have Cronenberg's, Clive Barker's, I should say, Nightbreed. Yeah, really, really decent little horror film, I guess. It wasn't one that I absolutely fell in love with the first time I watched it, but it was fine, it was okay. I enjoyed the creative designs of the characters in this film, but not one I go back and rewatch a hell of a lot. So yeah, that's Nightbreed. And next up we have kind of like a 60s slasher film. It was really awesome. to see some of the effects in this film for the time, and the blood in this movie is just so vibrant on 4K, and it is Blood and Black Lace. Look at that cover, just absolutely awesome. Really, really good stuff with this movie, really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's Blood and Black Lace. Next up, we've got another video nasty on 4K, and that is The House by the Cemetery. I need to give this one a rewatch because I haven't seen it since the DVD. But I think this is the one that kind of has this annoying kid in it that has some bad acting. I don't really remember the performance that much, so I definitely need to give this one a rewatch. So yeah, that is The House by the Cemetery. And the last 5 titles I've got here are my Dario Argento sort of little section that I have on 4K. So we have The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Yeah, these movies are all just fantastic for me. I just love them all. So yeah, that's a great movie from the early 70s, Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Next up, probably one of my least favourite ones, but I still like the movie. We have The Cat O' Nine Tails. Yeah, decent little horror film. Enjoyed it for what it was, but like I said, not one of my favourite Argento ones. So yeah, that's The Cat O' Nine Tails. Next up, we have probably my second favourite from this little sort of section that I've got, and that is Tenebrae. I believe this was a video nasty. This has got some great gore in it, some great effects, really, really well done, well executed, and I just enjoyed the film. So yeah, that's Tenebrae. Next up, not my favourite Argento movie, but my definite favourite from this Arrow release, we have Deep Red. Yeah, really enjoy this one, really love the soundtrack. The doll is creepy as hell in this movie when you see it. It just comes marching out. Just, yeah, really, really great horror film. Really, really enjoy this one from the mid-70s. So, yeah, that is Deep Red. And the last title I've got to sort of round off my whole entire Arrow collection, we have Argento's Phenomena. Yeah, starring Jennifer Connelly. Didn't enjoy this movie the first time I watched it. Enjoyed it a hell of a lot more on rewatch. And yeah, just thought the soundtrack was good. Really creepy imagery. And I just really enjoyed the film. So yeah, that is my little Dario Argento collection finished off with Phenomena. And that also finishes off the entire Blu-ray and 4K collection on the Arrow label, guys. So yeah, that was my entire Arrow collection. So gonna leave the video there, guys, and say thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.